So Andy, thank you for joining us once again this afternoon. Before we look ahead to the visit of Salford City on Saturday, just a very brief look back at the weekend's action. It's fair to say at full time you were very disappointed.
Yeah, I struggled to sort of hide my emotions a little bit, I'm pretty sure. I just felt we had enough chances to get something out of the game. I wouldn't say we deserved anything out of the game because I didn't think we'd done enough of the right things in the right areas. So yeah, look, it's one of those days, tough day at the office for us. They were up for it, you know. They were desperate for it, and they really just got the result that they needed, and we just couldn't quite get to grips with the game. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes you're sort of scratching your head, particularly at the end when we had four or five really good chances to at least get an equaliser. But it wasn't to be our day, and we have to move on.
And like you say, the players, I guess, coming in Monday after that, just looking ahead rather than looking back?
Yeah, I think we've got to make it, well, yes and no. We looked back over the game and I made it clear of what we did wrong, what we can't do again wrong. That's not to say we won't do it, you know, and just really make it sort of clear and black and white of what we're about and how we go about certain things, you know, without getting into too much detail. So I thought it was important to address that on Monday. And then, you know, look, the guys are great. We just get back out on the pitch and it's work again, you know, and we've worked really hard this week to make sure that we're in a good place for this Saturday, you know, for sure. You know, this is a big game. They're all big games. You know, every point that we get in this league is a point of history and a position higher than we've ever been before, and we must maintain that sort of drive.
One positive, I guess, coming out of the past few days particularly is the return of Danny Imre first and foremost to training, and then you brought him on in the second half at Carlisle, and that'll be a big boost. Yeah,
Danny, it's great to have Danny back in the building. He's come back at a good time for us. We know what Danny is, we know what he adds to us, we know what he's done for us. So brilliant to have him available. And obviously Cameron Congreve, you know, he's been away with Wales. He's back, all good. Yes, we've got a fully fit squad to choose from. So, you know, really a nice headache problem to have this weekend.
And you talk about that just on the injury front as well. It's been really good to see Kamal Grant and Carl Jenkinson getting back to fitness as well this week.
Everyone's back pretty much, albeit maybe a few minutes here and there they've missed. But yeah, we're all good. And it's just come at a good time, you know. It gives you all the lift, gives the team lift, gives the players a lift and the staff a lift, and all of us, you know. That aside, I've now got to pick a team that's going to go and win a football match, and that won't be easy against a Salford team that will have their own aspirations and their own desires to try and gate crash the playoffs.
And like you say, they're two teams fairly close to each other in the table. Do you see this game as kind of a six-pointer in a sense?
But I think it is, you know. I think we'd be silly not to look at it like that. I'm probably looking at it maybe slightly different from Salford. They'll have aspirations of getting in the playoffs. That's not to say I'm not, but I'm looking at it as, look, we can jump a place or two in the league, and I think that really should be our focus at the moment, of not the playoffs, but making sure that we keep jumping up a place or keep picking up points. To make sure that we finish as high as we possibly can, you know, and that's what I'll be maintaining. The boys keep their focus on.
And it's two games in quick succession as well, obviously, with Salford on Saturday and then Newport on Tuesday. No room for rest, essentially.
No, I do think that suits this squad. I do think Saturday, Tuesday, you know, that sort of rhythm suits this squad. I have to say that. So yeah, but look, one game at a time, Matt. We've got to concentrate on Saturday. We've got to show the respect for Salford. Really big, open, wide game up there. I'm not saying it'd be the same this weekend, but we've got to make sure we just concentrate on what we're doing and execute what we're doing, and you know, make sure we put in a performance. That's really important.
Season's flown by. We've talked about being at that business end. Is this now the run-in?
Yeah, absolutely. Look. I mean. I think there's 24 points up for grabs from now to the end of the season, and in 1 week there's 9 of those points, and you can't lose sight of that. You know, this time next week we'll be on course for 9 points up for grabs. Hopefully this time next week we're sitting with the 9 points. That's what we've got to aim for. And it is the business end, you know, and then we've got coming up in a few weeks, we've got the Easter weekend, so in 2 days there's 2 games quick, there's points to be picked up quick there, and before you know it, the season's over. So we've got to make sure that we keep this season, alive, keep it going, And like I say, just keep making sure that every point is a point higher than we've ever had in this league, or in our history. So we want to make sure we keep that strong going into the end.